I got time.
Well, obviously you've never texted him, cause he's on the camera.
He'll text me for
Hey, Chris?
like an excessively long
Just go to my
conversation on
office,
athletics or
it's
something
okay.
like that. We'll go, and I'm like,
You're good.
One question, I'll get a call back, you know.
You didn't
right
say that.
No, you do that.
ESP going on, I feel trouble.
what time?
We take care of it.
Just,
Dierbergs
Office
just
is
have
warm
his
as my
hands
office, right? I'm feeling like
that and yeah.
Nice and toasty, eh?
it's only 98.
He's only doing it for bike riding.
Well, this morning, yeah, it was 2 hours.
Yeah, no, it's like a plan.
Are you from like California? No, it's not healthy being that hot.
I'm gonna get
Yeah.
out.
Good news.
Hold that down there. And that is Tony's stuff in the corner. Tony just is not feeling well. He and I both have signs that his were going a different direction. So he was, I think he left. It's not possibly affect anybody else.
Doesn't all use Facebook.
Thank you, that's why I thought just. Yeah, would you put that right behind you, Keith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put that stuff on there right behind you.
Yeah.
Oh, live dangerously.
I'm sure that the full vote will pass in a few seconds. And he never made a comment where he says, the change of weather affects me. Where's the nearest hand sign? Seriously, go.
There is one.
I think he's washing his hands. All right, knock, knock, knock. I think my gals are in the other room. Everybody ready? That's a good way to put it. Thanks, Keith. Justin, can we get a roll call, please?
Alderman Odenwald.
Here.
Alderman Trapolini. Here. Alderwoman Gorman.
Here.
Alderman Peters.
Here.
Alderman Lauder.
Here.
Alderwoman Reed.
Here.
F four.
All right, jumping right in. The approval of minutes. We have two separate minutes to approve. We have the approval for the Board of Aldermen regular session first. We'll do this together or just separately?
You should do it.
Separately. The first one is the regular session for October 15th, 2019.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Secondarily, on B, it says Board of Aldermen work session on that same afternoon, that same evening, our first, what was that, our first budget session?
First budget workshop.
Is there any changes to that in the minutes? If everybody has them tattooed on their forearms?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, now we have 3 sign permits, as you can see. The first is at 7220 Murdoch Avenue, Tiny Little Monsters. And I know this has been vetted by staff. Jonathan, do you have anything to add to this?
That's correct. Matt Stoll, who is with us, yes, has vetted each of the 3 sign permits that you have before you, and we will approve or deny or table them independently of each other. The board, as you know, reviews sign permits of a certain nature within commercial zones, and that's what these 3 qualify for. So the first one is Tiny Little Monsters, which is on the east side of the train tracks and is right up the road from, I guess, Park Val Apartments. So,
Which is, what, out of curiosity, I don't know what Tiny Little Monsters.
They're a t-shirt shop, to my knowledge. Is that right,
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah, t-shirts.
Oh, they made that one? Oh, the Wolf of Wall, look at that. Thank
wow.
you.
So we support our local businesses, right?
And she plays pickleball.
And she-
Man, great.
So apparently she picked up that building and wanted to get some signage on it. Has everybody had a chance to look at what was in your packet? Is there any comments or concerns of the board? Hearing none, and again, like he said, all these have been vetted by staff, so they should be approved, or show promise for approval, but based on your comments. So if I can get a motion to approve the sign permit application for 7220 Murdoch Avenue for Tiny Little Monsters.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed for that? No? All right, well, Tiny Little Monsters will move forward. The next one is for Dierbergs. As you all know, Dierbergs has been doing quite a lot up there at their plaza, and they are also jumping into changing some of their own signs. You all were given some of the different pieces of, this just goes with, if I'm not mistaken, so just the Dierbergs building itself,
Correct.
right? And we have,
Garrett Newhouse?
we have to stand up for just a second. This is Eric from Dierbergs, and are you from the sign company?
The guy, the sign
All
company.
right, thank you.
Garrett.
So if there's any questions, this gentleman is here if you'd like to ask any, if any of the board has any questions on the Dierberg signage. I looked at it, personally, they said they're gonna change a few, and I just like the facades, everything's getting uplifted up there, it's looking better and better, so I have no problem personally.
Looks great.
A little bit different fonts.
A little different fonts, they're going with the different, and this is the beginning of a change that you'll see then all the way down that facade, once they get the rest of that going. So Dierbergs just take care of themselves first, making that flagship look gorgeous, so. Is there any other questions for that, or can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, great.
Thank you,
That's it.
Garrett.
Yeah, sure, thank you. And last on the sign permit applications on C, this is Caliber Collision on 7300 Watson.
This is the location where you probably think A1 antenna, which is right across the road, right next to the train tracks from Aldi's. And
Yes.
so what they're doing is doing a name change right there, which means they need a new sign, which means they need you to approve that sign.
And
It
so
was
you-
reviewed by Matt, and everything is fit our code so
Yes,
far.
and they both have topical frontage over the building and then a signpost sign, if you'd like to see it there. I think it's cool, everything to beautify the city, make it look nicer and, upgrade, no problem. Any concerns by any board members, please? Hearing none, can I get a motion for approval, please?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, great. Next on the agenda, we do have the Fall Board of Aldermen reception, and this is something I have dropped the ball on yet again. I get too busy in budget and stuff. But I'd still like to do some sort of a late reception prior to the holidays. We'll have it inside of the Sunset Room, and I just want to put a couple of dates out there, and this is a meet and greet with, if I could ask just about anybody in this room to be there for that. So if you just want to come by and chat with the police officer, or the police chief, or the fire chief, and any alderman here. And I like that type of reception. I will make sure there's food and beverage there. I just want to pick a date that's affordable for most folks to make. Can't obviously understand, but I want to get this going and get it on the website so we can promote this at least during the month of November. Maybe have a quick, I know December gets so very early in the week, early week of December, pick a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, an odd night that we're not actually meeting here, for staff to come up, and then again, have it in the Sunset Room and just have an open house and try to put that up, and then at that time, people can come in and talk anything they want to their aldermen.
We've had coffee with the mayor
Yep.
and coffee with a cop. It was always a wonderful forum informally for, residents to say, I never wanted to mention this in the board meeting, but I'd really like to ask you this thing in my neighborhood.
I know Felicity did one years ago that I did like, and they broke us up into classrooms upstairs. Do you remember that, Michael? I remember I was with Elmer, and we were upstairs, and there was only like 4 or 5 at the time, so it wasn't as well received.
Right.
I think people felt a little pressure sitting right in front of all of it. But I think if it's casual and you're having a minor cocktail or a soda pop or something, a sandwich, you can talk to Johnny Oldwell. I know he's not really approachable, but he'll do his best to clean up. No, but you know what I mean, it just makes it, we're not doing suits and ties, I'm gonna be damn sure I'll probably have shorts on, even if it's 12 degrees outside.
You
know what I mean?
gonna do a holiday for it?
Yes.
Besides?
I'll try.
Yeah, this is strictly for public usage, so anybody in the city who wants to come up and just see just who Mike Travellini is.
You're in for a treat.
It's virtually, that's correct. So I wanted to bring this up though, just for a minor discussion, and if you see some dates, I'm gonna be throwing them out at you probably by the end of the week. And that's for both, so there will be also, I haven't had a chance, we didn't have a chance to talk about it at the department head meeting, but just a minor holiday party as well. And we'll throw dates out there for everybody to get to your calendar, because if you're like me, I'm not that much of a social butterfly, but things do fill up, so keep that on your mind. B on discussion as Citizen of the Year. I only had a couple. Elisa gave me a few names, and I didn't get much of anyone else. This, I think we've already passed, though. Are we gonna be due?
We told them we'd extend it a few days.
All right.
They are more than willing to accommodate us because they like us buying a table.
I know. Does anyone else have, at least it gave me two names, we'll bring those up. Is there anybody else that had brought up any other thoughts? Because normally at this board, we will either do a straw vote, or debate a little bit, or chit chat, or whatever you're the most comfortable with.
Are city employees able to be nominated or no?
That's a good question.
If they're a resident,
Okay.
and, I mean, it's up to you,
They are.
you know,
Oh.
so.
If they're a
yes,
resident, that's a
you
good
could.
qualifier.
So,
Okay,
So I have somebody I'd like to.
okay, well, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go ladies first. Elise, would you go ahead and give us yours? You had,
Well,
if somebody you wanna feel strongly, if you don't, that's
no,
fine.
I think the first name is the one that I think is.
The author,
No, the
Chris?
gentleman.
Chris
Yeah,
Polka?
Chris Polka is.
she had offered up Chris Polka. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's he runs the website here, one of the websites that does a lot of comments here throughout Shrewsbury, both pluses and negatives. I appreciate the fact that he is out there throwing stuff against the refrigerator and seeing if it sticks. I don't always agree with him. I do like the fact that he's a bit of a shit disturber, that actually, I'm dead serious, so I like that. The world sees too many yes people these days, and I like someone who can be a little bit more of a free thinker and think outside the box a little bit for social justice and just in Shrewsbury. So she had Chris Polka. If you guys don't know him, he has attended a couple of meetings. I know him to be a little shyer than most. But again, I think he's a good,
The reason I suggested him.
please, fire up.
Because it's been a while since I suggested him. I think the qualifiers are, it's an effort to better the community and allow us to reach our neighbors. And I think he does that with the Community Connect, and he also manages the swamp. And if we look back, I think he started it 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, about 3
Where
years
would
ago,
we
yeah.
be without the Community Connect?
I think it's a
And
nice
he
piece.
moderates it in I think a very positive way. And really, I think as government officials and public employees of the city, we maybe don't get the best, most positive end sometimes, but I think he does a really good job at making sure that information gets out there. And I think that really, I mean, where would we be 2 years, you know, moving forward? So I think that's why I think he in his heart, he does a good job at bringing the best for the city. And I think he is a good nominee for this. He really does have the heart of the community.
And he's been a lifelong resident, I know.
Yeah, I think,
Forever.
and I think he does a lot of volunteering, I think, within the community as well. So I think he's really a
And
good
that would have to
nominee.
vet, but I don't know, but I know the site itself. And besides John, does anybody else have anybody offhand? I'm just making it wait. Go ahead, Johnny, I'm sorry.
I was gonna let him know. You said ladies first, go ahead.
Continuing.
Yeah, sorry, John, please.
I'm totally kidding.
Thank you.
Johnny O is a very proactive individual. He's awesome.
No,
go
I'll,
for it.
He knows I'm playing around with
I would like to nominate Sergeant Patrick King.
Oh, a unique choice.
He, in just in his role within the police department, as far as doing the community outreach and getting out, and you see what he does with the National Night Out, and I know that there's more hands in that than him, but just seeing his drive and the times that I've worked with him, he's just always trying to make the relationship between the citizens and the police a better situation. He's always open to, I'll see him out on the street when he's riding his bicycle, or even if he's in his car, he's talking to the youth, he's in the parks, he's just around, he makes himself visible. And I just think that's something that we need to recognize and show that we appreciate that he's kind of going above and beyond what's really asked of him within the uniform, so.
It's a really unique, and if I may comment just on my own personal, I've known him since he was a young man. When I ran the soccer tournament, he was one of my go-to goalies too. I mean, he's a ref, and he uses volunteer most of it. That's unique, thanks, John, I appreciate that. Keith?
Yeah, I actually think it's a fantastic suggestion though, because Patrick has done so much. He's a go-getter, and he's definitely a staple.
But since it's the unique, and I never thought of it, when you said resident, he had me thinking, like, who's he talking about that's a resident could still possibly be working here? That didn't enter my mind, but now that you said it, yes.
I was going to mention someone that I don't know if they've already been recommended before or not, but Ed Purvis, just from all the different hats they've worn, from everything from here within the city as well as athletics. athletics, soccer tournament, he's probably been around for 30 years doing
Yeah.
that. McMahon tournament / sticker tournament, he's been up there for 30 years for that.
How long
He's
was he
St.
involved?
Vincent de Paul, I mean, he's,
20
I think it's
plus
23.
20, I was gonna say 22.
22.
I mean, he's,
Well,
there's so many buckets,
Yeah,
that he's
that'd
hit.
be an even number.
and he's always there.
It would have been, yeah,
Yeah, that'd be. an
because he
even
didn't
number.
run in an off year,
Probably
so.
22.
I know that anytime there's a shout out of, hey, we need volunteers or help, whether it be working the pit, whether it be working something, cleaning something, doing something, the guy always steps up, and that's,
Do we have a list of our past?
Right on that post, on the other side.
Oh,
Did we grab it? Seriously?
no, I just didn't know.
Oh,
that.
so you-
Yeah,
we grab it. Cause it'll just show, oh, where'd you get the door?
because I honestly don't.
I think there's only like
Oh, we're trying to start
4 or
stuff.
5 or something like that, so I haven't been.
Yeah, if you want me to go real quick? Or you just want
How far back does it go?
It goes back to 2009.
Oh, this is, okay, because we've been.
RG
doing this
Morrissey
a lot
Pizza,
longer.
but yes, we got
Ed Koff, then we have Ed.
Ed was last
Yes.
We
year.
have Meyer,
Rick
Greg Meyer.
Steinberg.
Meyer was on it a couple years ago.
Well, how do you guys like to do this? Do you want to vote in chamber? Or do you want to?
Another name I'd throw out there.
Oh, please,
I don't
I
know,
think names.
how this would work would be Don Peters for all the work he's done for the city over the years.
Okay.
You know, been around forever, lifetime resident.
Raised a good boy.
Yeah.
Is he, do you have any
Todd
brothers?
lives in Atlanta.
Yeah, I was gonna say, your other brother.
I'm worried you thought it was you.
I didn't know, I knew right off the way.
Oh, okay, wow.
And the reason I wanna write these down too is because when I look at this personally, I look at it like Chris Polka, Pat King are gonna be around a little longer. Ed Purvis, Don Peters, old-time guys, not that they're gonna drop dead tomorrow, but I mean, to recognize them and the window is starting to leave. Does that make sense? And that's just my 2 cents worth on that one. Cause like an Ed Purvis or even a Don Peters, that window, you know, is gonna be a lot shorter than somebody like.
Or you could look at it the other way and say, it's about time they get recognized, and the younger ones have a chance to get it another year, so just throw that
Thanks,
out.
Michael.
there.
No, I appreciate that.
I don't know which way I'll vote, but that's the other way.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So we did have Dan Lowry on there?
Hmm?
We did have Dan Lowry?
I don't, did you see Dan's name on there at all? I don't think.
I didn't really look at that item, sorry, I apologize. I'll just have to look at that later on, thank you.
But I think we've been doing it longer than 1 year.
Yeah, that's, the reason I picked that up is just to refresh our memories for the last 10, 11 years is what's listed.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know who Tom Stibe is, but it ain't Mr. Tommy Stripes. He comes and points at me, I never fix it just to get us going, I don't put a bar there with a piece of paper.
Yeah, that should fit.
We'll fix it, make it. All right, well, if you want to go ahead and, talk about it in chambers, we can right now. How many voting members are there for this?
We have 6 unless you break a tie,
I'll reserve the right to break a tie if that's okay with you guys, so.
even if it's 2-2.
Yeah, so think for a minute, we do need to get this in, so that's why I was kinda saying if you wanted to email me a vote, you could do that down the line and think of it, or if you're uncomfortable doing it under these circumstances, hearing the names for the first time right now, as a group at least.
Yeah, how about we let you know?
You wanna let us know? I mean, I'm perfectly okay with that.
I think it's better, yeah.
That's fine, I don't,
Email you.
why don't you just email me? How about, what's a good date to do it by Thursday?
Into business this week?
End of business this week, does that work for everybody? If I can get it by Friday morning, some that time, would that be good, John? Everybody? Elisa, does that
Because
work
we
for you?
appreciate everything everybody does all
What I don't wanna
days,
get-
but there can only be,
There could be only one,
there can only be one.
because then by that afternoon, I will email you back with how the choices are tabulated. Does that make sense?
Works for me.
All right, well, that'll work. Next, we are into budget.
Do you wanna do, ordinance, and switch it around, vote to switch the ordinance so that he can?
Oh, yes, could we get a motion to change the agenda, please?
I'll move to change the agenda to what?
We're gonna
So
put
that we
E,
can-
we're gonna do the E ordinance instead of the D subsection C
I
budget.
couldn't have said that better myself.
All right.
That's my motion.
Oh, there
And
you
I'll
go.
second that.
Is, could I, all in favor, please?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so we're gonna go ahead
That's
and
the
jump
Yeah, I
to
know.
E for the ordinance. And could I get a motion for the first reading of bill number 2986, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
And just as a point of order, this is the updated ordinance that was.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Bill number 2986, by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Municipal Park Grant Commission of St. Louis County for HARTRY Park improvements in the city of Shrewsbury, Missouri.
All right, could I get a motion for a second reading,
Motion for
please?
second reading.
All in
Second.
favor? Oh, pardon me. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Second reading of bill number 2986, by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Municipal Park Grant Commission of St. Louis County for HARTRY Park improvements in the city of Shrewsbury, Missouri.
All right, any other comments, questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for final passage.
Motion for passage.
Second.
Could I get a roll call, Mr. Clucky?
Alderman Odenwald,
Aye.
Alderman Travellini,
Aye.
Alderwoman Gorman,
Aye.
Alderman Peters,
Aye.
Alderman Lauder,
Aye.
Alderwoman Reed.
Aye.
All right, that bill number 2986 becomes,
Ordinance number 2973.
and you all understand this is because we did receive confirmation for the 300 and how many thousand dollars? $370,000 for the grant. To thank Chris and his staff for this, so HARTRY Park will get a facelift sometime this spring, and we'll get started on that with I think we're gonna do like an assessment of the property, something, to look at the topography and make sure we do it right. So things don't pool in the places we don't want water to pool, and sand and goodies go in the right places, and tree movement happens. We are excusing Mr. Daming to go into the final part of the budget, so,
If you insist, Mayor.
yeah.
You didn't find it, you should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just wanna make sure everybody knew that.
Congratulations, Chris, awesome work.
It was pretty fun, because even through Chris's mind, when he told me, he thought maybe next year, but not this year, based on the rest, and it came down. And I got this letter in the mail as the mayor, and we usually get similar mail, I mean, he gets the same copy I do. As it came in the mail, it looked like an ad from the St. Louis County to buy something. And I'm looking at it like, I don't think we need this, you know? And I'm looking at it a little hard, and I'm like, Chris, can you come to my house for a second? I walked on to his.
Do we want a free 380,000?
Do we want that? Is that okay?
We'll take
Let's
that.
think about it.
Yeah, well, you know, let's think about it.
Thank you.
Let's vote.
Yeah.
So thank you for that and getting it passed tonight, because that'll get that started for Chris to be able to use that, and get going. Okay, now we're into budget. All right, everybody pick up your little budget packets, please.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Lauren, you're leaving, you're not gonna sit around for the
Thanks for bringing your nice t-shirt.
Actually, that's a good advertisement.
I did advertising for it.
Oh, you did great
That's what
advertising.
it should be here. So, I hope everyone saw fit to put a budget, line budget for the light round sign. Even Dierbergs has
Alright.
it now. Dierbergs has announced it.
Should I go acquire those?
Yeah.
Your attorney's not here, we're gonna get a control now, aren't we?
I'll leave that $1 bill.
Okay, keep this going. All right, we're gonna talk about budget here, guys. Everybody take a look at the budget
Thanks,
sheet.
Happy Halloween when it gets here.
That's all right. What we're doing today is to continue to look at the budget, questions, answers. You've had time to really dive into this booklet itself. Just to let you know, I've got a minor subcommittee between Greg and Keith down here. They had volunteered about a year ago, and we pulled them in now, and they're gonna be, not necessarily the board's rep, but they're gonna be on the subcommittee for this budget to be ongoing. So we may put the budget to bed after a few weeks to process and get going with the community, but they're gonna continue to meet with myself and Danielle and Jonathan and anybody else we need to grasp bigger concepts, to try to vet those out to all the people themselves, and to act as a good go-between. And I'm trying to get them schooled up to be like ultra educated on the budgeting process, and then also as a first vetting for a crazy idea, you know? Maybe we've got something coming down that we've got. Danielle and I are meeting tomorrow with Jonathan because she went to a conference just recently on Friday, and she's got some other wonderful ideas on how to attack different things in the city. She's vetted a couple with me very quickly. I'm not at liberty to say right away, because again, it's just off the cuff. like I said, I'm gonna use these two gentlemen down here to shoot that idea to and see, what do you think of this? How do you think this is going to go? So, with that being said, let's take a peek. Right away, I know, I want to go right to you, Greg and Keith. Yesterday, we were looking at a couple of pieces, and I wanted to get those questions out right away for Danielle, since she's here. And what we were looking at, if everybody could turn to, let me give you the tab, if I can find it. Capital Improvement Fund. It's the last red tab. If you pull that up and go to the second to last page, you will see what's listed way up high. It says Capital Improvement Fund Expenditures. Everybody do there.
Starts with public safety buildings, 280.
You got it.
Yeah, it starts on top of Public Safety 280, and some of the things that I wasn't able to answer yesterday in our brief. Uh-oh.
Is that a work conflict in there, Mike? Oh, boy.
One of the things we needed to explain is we were looking at, if you put your hand there and go back to your very front page and look under the capital, and you'll see other under capital, and you'll see 289,600. Right? And other, that's a big deal. And Danielle has explained this to me, but when Keith and Greg and I met yesterday, I forgot what all these things meant, and so I thought, well, let's just wait till today and let's ask these questions. So one of the things that kicks into gear, as you can see, going backward again to the capital improvement expenditure sheet, you'll see down below it says 69,510, 2015 COPS principal, and 59,530, 2015 COPS interest, and you'll see those are sizable numbers down there, like 189,000 if you just total those two by themselves. So Danielle, can you explain to us what those are?
So those are the certificates of participation. It was an issue that we did back in 2015 for improvements to this building, the energy efficiency project. We structured it so that when the debt payments on the leasehold revenue bonds, which were used to purchase this building, when they were retired, then the debt service on these would begin, so.
So basically what you're doing is that is the interest payment, or is that just the payment?
The $140,000 is the principal, the $49,000 is the interest.
Okay,
Mhm.
and that's gonna be on a yearly basis for how many more
It
years?
might fluctuate.
Slightly?
I was gonna say, that's a one-time, or?
No,
or
no,
It's gonna
it's
continue?
annual, yeah.
How many years? We set that into place 3
I
years
think
ago?
we have about 10 years left, 10 or
Okay.
11 years left.
Okay,
Um,
so that's what I'm putting on the outside of mine, is I wanna be able to use this budget to give myself that knowledge base. I'm gonna put down that that's a 10-year plus expense.
So what happens then when it's paid off?
The bond is paid off?
So that means that we don't,
we don't owe any more on that debt.
and that means our heating and cooling is taken care of?
Well, this was to purchase it initially. It
This
wasn't-
was purchasing of it.
Jonathan worked with,
CTS.
CT and Chris, yeah, you guys can probably speak more to what the specifics of what that entailed. But the thought process being that we invested so much money in purchasing the building that we needed to, we had an old boiler system, I
We
know.
got higher efficient machine, equipment for heating and cooling, roofs, we got new roofs. Public safety, got some items done at their building to make it more efficient. The lighting was changed.
So when this building was first purchased by the city of Shrewsbury, when it was still a high school, we didn't have enough money in that bond issue to change all the HVAC. And so this was still running under the old radiated systems and the like, and they were starting to decompose, for lack of a better word. I know we knew it was coming when Bert Gates first did that. I mean, that was part of the process, was to put away one bond issue and then add to it as the things went down the line. And so
And
the
this
board,
is slightly lower than the debt payments were on the building, so we are still seeing some savings from that, while I also know operationally, I think we see some energy savings in
Yeah,
utilities,
tremendous
so.
on that. And then secondarily, I know, just as an example, the gymnasium itself, you can heat it and cool it quickly. In the old days, you would have to anticipate hey, we've got a league game going on tonight or something, okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, the league game's at 5, we better turn that boiler on in there to get it going. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had some pretty systemic issues that were going on subgrade. So what it means is, there were times when the boilers were flooding down there, and we had to have staff going down there with sparks, arcing. You could only imagine if we had an electrocution, and if there was no pumps down there.
So how many years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
2015.
4 years ago, the board voted to go ahead and put that into a bond and to pay that off direct, so you can have, just like buying a car. You buy it up front, you pay the interest, you go as you go.
So, sorry to ask another
No.
question. So now that we are anticipating payments instead of doing it in the post, is it something where in 10 years we're going to start anticipating these issues again?
So the whole
Or-
point of having a budget committee is to put all that on paper, knowing the, what do you wanna call it? Almost think of your own home.
We call it lifespan.
Yeah.
But we don't have any already in the, we don't have any in the works yet,
No.
for this item.
No,
Not
nothing
for
yet.
this bill.
Like, we,
It's new, it's only 4 years old, the efficiency and the capacity would be, I would guess, 15 to 20 years,
15 years.
would be a ballpark guess.
Okay.
and
But to-
each park's different
Yeah.
too. Like, you know, some roofs are flat, some are gabled, right? I mean, each one's gonna have a different lifespan, and we have large volumes of material that foots to each one of these at like maybe 200-300 pages, where every spec has a lifespan, an amortization schedule, what was the asset valuation, and then how long could we consider this and the other facility being quote modernized? What kind of lifespan were we looking at? I know we were talking very easily 25 years for what we thought the needs of the city would entail.
Thank you.
One of the other things that we talked about on that, using your hand going forward to the very top front page again, same thing under general, there's an other there that was 529,000. And we were trying to find, where were we gonna look for that one, Daniel? Where's the, general fund, revenue? Yes,
Be the first under, the first green tab, your first page.
yeah, general fund, and underneath there it says other expenditures.
Says by department, and then the last is other expenditures.
Yeah, 529. And Daniel, you had told me before what that included, and I
And 190, or?
it would have been,
It's the overall general fund expenditures by summary, and there's the department list here.
there's a department list, and then it says other expenditures, and it comes down to 529,239.
And that is the, entire budget for the Department 190.
And it, which is 190,
And we
okay,
call
show us
that-
that.
We call that the,
Legislative.
legislative elected officials.
Okay,
The budget, that's where the salaries of the elected officials are budgeted.
so where will we find it all tabulated?
Go under,
Oh, so it's the
The
1, 2,
legislative.
3, 4, the fourth green tab,